Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
Hey, my name is Luke Crockett, Ploppin' Bricks on YouTube. I'm here with my Uncharted 4 series, kind of taking you through the game from start to finish. And so it starts right over here with the opener of the game. It starts right in the middle of the action in a boat chase in the middle of the ocean. So I wanted to capture that as much as I could with just loose bricks in the middle and then a blue base surrounding it, and try to get a little bit of the action of you ramming the smaller ships there at the start of the game.
And this scene feels so dynamic with the way you've done the water.
Yeah, it was tough trying to get them all angled how I wanted them to look without just snapping off, but eventually I got to where I was happy in the end. And then the next scene up there is kind of the opener scenes of the game. One side is Sam catching Nate when he's about to fall, and the other side is Nate catching his brother as he believes that he dies at the start of the game. And so I wanted to get kind of that dichotomy in one build with the both sides.
And this is a much more architectural based build, so what were some of the techniques here?
A lot more plates than bricks, because I wanted to get kind of the different colors mixed in as it was built up, and then just try to work in the masonry bricks as well. So then it goes to down here, Nate doing his normal life job of salvage, and so that's just a smaller, simple one, just to show that kind of shift in his life where he's at the beginning of the game to where he returns to. So it goes to the second biggest one, which is them escaping the auction. And this one was the most recent one I finished. Kind of at the start, it was just going to be a thrown together smaller scene, but then I made the car first, which was difficult for me to figure out angles and stuff. And so it ended up way bigger than I thought it was going to look. And so I had to extend the whole thing and make it a much bigger scene. But I'm really happy with how it turned out with the smaller details and the arch and the tree and all that.
What were some of the elements you used to achieve kind of the flooring and the arches and those details?
So it's just some snot bricks to get those tiles out on the sides, and then some inverted slopes. I had to use a flexible bar to clip the main top three in, but the side ones were able to just hold in just due to the friction. So.
And then some great techniques for things like the flooring here and getting a lot of that little kind of smooth detailing in.
Yeah, there were really fine detailing in the floors that you couldn't get with just normal tiles, so had to use some brackets and whatnot to get them in there. The next one here is after the auction, after they've escaped, Nate and Sam discussing things in their hotel room. It's a really interesting scene in the video game. You gotta get a sense of the relationship of the history between Sully and Sam, and so I wanted to include that one.
What's cool about this is kind of the way you brought out the balcony on the side here, kind of over the side, and almost kind of brings the scene out to the viewer a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to keep that outside separate from the main build, because Nate's obviously left the two to discuss things in the actual scene. So.
And something as simple as the bed is just a great detail and technique that you've captured nicely.
Yeah, that was a tough one to really figure out, because I wanted to get those ruffles kind of at the bottom. The hotel beds always seem to have that, so I wanted to include those. But yeah. And
Fantastic.
The next one there is them in Scotland trying to find a grave site, and so probably the hardest thing for me in this one was trying to get some of the floor detailing in the front. I ended up having to build the whole thing with snot techniques instead of actual floor, so that took me some time to figure out. And then the tree was hard to get it to a point where I liked it. Just having a dead tree is kind of hard to hide any details behind leaves, so it took me a long time to try and angle them to make it look full still.
Looks like you used a lot of the kind of horn elements.
Yep. I had a lot of those and other pieces I from the bonsai set and stuff like that, so I was able to use those there.
You have interesting layering in the landscape, so you've got your grays, but then kind of the more earthier tones on the bottom.
Yeah, I always like stacking up on the outside with plates, just because you can add those little smaller details, a couple rounded plates and some greens, tans, and all that to just make it a little more interesting on the side.
And then, is that a pirate hat on the one tombstone?
Yeah, so I wanted, all the tombstones in that scene had skull and crossbones, and there's no like print for it, so I used like a pirate's hat, just tucked it inside of an arch piece to get that little detail in there. And the next scene is them escaping in their truck. There's one scene in the game where they go down a bunch of steps through a market, and so I wanted to get them crashing through the tables and whatnot as they're going through that, and then some smaller buildings in the back just as a little backdrop. That was a really fun one to build. It was right after I finished the main big one, so it was a whole different like style of buildings. It was fun break.
The action in this one is really good with that stuff flying all over the place.
Yeah, those were also ones that were fun to kind of have to place one by one, those little action stands to get them flying off at the right angles to look realistic, and they just blew through a table. So,
is there interiors at all to any of this?
Yeah, there is an interior on just this back orange one. You can see back there, just pretty simple, just a bedroom on top and then a little mailroom, like entryway on the bottom, just to add some fun for those windows. I didn't have the right pieces to do an interior on the blue one, so I just didn't put windows.
Yeah, but then really, no matter which angle you look at this from, there's detail and even the kind of plates and masonry bricks on the sides that add a lot of that realistic feel.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure to just add the details everywhere.
And does that bring us to the main scene then?
Yeah, that does. This is really like the start of what's the final battle in the game. And it's just a really fun, you start at the top of the cliff and you jump all the way down, you're fighting people the whole way, and it's a really fun scene, and it's one I knew I wanted to capture when I decided to do this. So it was the first one I built because I didn't know how long it would take me to get it all. And it was originally also much smaller. It only went back to the first mast, like how that far back, and then it was supposed to cut off there. But as I was building it, there were so many details I wanted to include, and the scale I was going for just didn't work there, so I had to extend it those directions and get it where I was happy with it.
So for people who haven't played the game, kind of walk us through this scene a little bit and how this unfolds here.
Yeah. So you start up on top of that, and then you're basically running like through the boat, swinging down. I tried to get that there because that's such a big part of this. The verticality of this when you play here is really important, and so I wanted to get all the levels. I was originally going to have the characters kind of move throughout the scene, but I just loved having them there over on top of that. So you can see there's like a stud I left to have them starting up top, but again, I just loved having them swinging in there, so I just left it. But yeah, you fight through this whole section, you fight a bunch of those big guys with the machine guns, and then you're done, and then you move on to the next one. But it's a really fun opener for the last action sequence.
I really like the subtle landscape changes, so the way that the boat kind of dips down here, and even as you kind of make your way up to the mast section in the back.
Yeah, those were kind of the more things I knew I wanted to have, so I took care of those sections first, getting the right heights and stuff for the angles. Originally the whole thing was going to be tilted, but that proved to be too much, so I just kept that section, and I kept some of these smaller sections where the boat's kind of cracking up. And then I used some net pieces to kind of get the angles of the sand back there to flow a little better. But yeah, all the separate angles on the walls and the floor were all things that I kind of started with those sections and then built around them once I was happy with those.
How did the rock work on the ends come together for you?
Well, originally I started over in this section and I was just like stacking bricks, and that was pretty rough, but I ended up knowing how much rock work there was to do. I changed to using just panels. So it's just plates on the bottom and then, the shallower, longer slopes. And that ended up being really helpful, is like getting these angles in the front there. And then along the sides, those big wide areas that needed to be covered by rock, those panels made it a whole lot easier.
I like the detail of sinking this mast into the water, and then you kind of change up the terrain with the tan coming down to the beach, and so there's a lot of different types of terrain throughout this one build.
Yeah, the water was another place. That's what I started with because I knew I wanted to kind of get kind of a wave look with it, and I originally left the front open there so you could see down under it, but there's not much to see really, it turns out. But
And then that brings us to the final scene?
Yep, this is the beginning of the final battle. The main bad guy, Rafe, got part of the boat blown up. Sam's trapped under a beam, and it's a very fun final battle. It's between two kind of sides of treasure hunting, obsession or, choosing to let it go, which Nate's trying to do. But it's great. The boat's on fire and you got a final battle there. So it's pretty fun.
So how did you decide to base all these builds off of this one particular game? Because this is a tremendous amount of work that you've put in here.
Yeah, Uncharted 4 was really like the first video game I ever played growing up. I never had any sort of console before that, but I saw the trailer for it and I was I gotta play that game, and I did. I loved it, and I've played it so many times since then. It's just such a great story, a great gameplay, great everything, and just a really fun game for me.
Do you have any idea how many pieces are in this whole layout?
No idea total, really. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of what I have.
Are there other video games that you would hope to tackle kind of to this level of detail and in this many scenes?
Yeah, so next thing I'll be starting is some builds based off of Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which is my favorite Uncharted game. I've already finished the cars I can actually show you. I was originally going to have them in front, but I ran out of space there.
Here's a little teaser for next year's display.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the Jeep and one of the the villain trucks I've made already to start making those scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Super cool. And for people who want to keep up with that work, where are you kind of most active online? Where can they check you out?
I've started a YouTube channel for plopping bricks on YouTube, so you can find me there. I'll start posting videos there very soon. So
yeah. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.